as well. So let me go to the second round. We still have got enough timing. Second round, I would like to ask the panelists one same question. What are the applications of AI in specific areas and industry like education, medical, healthcare, daily life, workforces, human resource management, and pharmaceutical, manufacturing, agriculture, etc., etc. So let us start with Ko Hong Jian Luen, okay? You can choose any specific area of your interest, and then you may start talking about the applications of AI in that areas.
Thank you, Kozonai, and thanks so much for the audience as well for the reflections. I think we can kind of address some of that as well as we look at it. Our title says, how we can embrace AI to unleash human potentials. So to do that, I think we talk about Denver process, and then how important it is to utilize AI in a way that how we can do better. So I think we don't have a choice in terms of whether you're going to be using AI or not using AI. So if you are not using AI, pretty likely that your job, you won't be able to do it compared to other people who are using AI. So it is like whether you're using a car or you're just still walking. So the time has changed. So we have to learn how to change with the times as well. I think it is so much about how we learn, how we unlearn, and how we relearn. I think that is going to be quite important in this process. Everyone talk about ChatGPT, how you can utilize it. It really speed up what we can do and efficiency that we can gain. So that we cannot avoid it. We have to find way to use it. So in that process, what we have to keep is we have to be, as human, we have to become so much adaptable. I like to refer to one of the Intel co-founder, Andy Grove, said, only the paranoid survive. So we have to be that. We have to look at what is happening in our environment and be ready to change with it. I think it is all about having a growth mindset. In order to do all the learnings. Without that, you will be left behind. So I think people know it, but then we really have to take it seriously and utilize it. So without, let's say, if you're not using ChatGPT, I won't say using ChatGPT is cheating. I think it is more about how you can utilize to your best potential. So we have to combine our creativities, what we can bring to the table with what ChatGPT can provide. That's where we have a new kind of creativity, a new kind of improvement that we can have in our work products. As the audience mentions, you can create your work product, whatever you are creating, much easier. Maybe not necessarily much better, but then it will, especially when you are short of talents, you can have a reasonable, content created very easily. So that is going to be there. So it is all about how we can take advantage of that. I think that is pretty critical. And then how you utilize it, I think we have already talked about it in terms of content generations. I think that's going to change the way we do with our lives, especially with before AI. We talk about how AI is going to automate, how AI is going to lose some of the manual labor jobs, and then now this is coming to what we call as a white collar jobs. So what we see as a white collar job will change tremendously in the next 10-20 years. People won't even recognize why we do that way. It is like before Excel, you're drawing lines, and then you are doing all the calculations. But then people don't, now these days, people don't miss that anymore because it's just the way we change, you know. So I think with ChatGPT and things of that nature, you know, ChatGPT is just the first applications, you know, there are many more applications to come, and then the change is going to become even more rapid as we move forward, you know. So it is about in terms of changing our mindsets, you know, so how we go about that, you know, and then there is obviously a danger of we becoming dumber and dumber. To avoid that is we have to be conscious about how we learn, how we change, you know. I think that would be quite critical, you know. I mean, as we said, you know, the writing itself is going to change forever now, you know. So if you are still writing the old traditional way, you are just using more time. So I think you have to combine that with ChatGPT or things of that nature, you know. As Kusai mentioned as well, all the IT vendors, they are integrating things into their productivity softwares, you know. I mean, Microsoft has so many Copilot nouns, you know, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot, GitHub Copilots, you know. Everything is to help you enhance, you know, whatever you are doing, you know. So I think these skills are even better and better, and how we can take advantage of that is quite critical. And then, you know, and then it is not just in the writing, it will obviously change to things like CRMs, you know, based on the context, based on the information you have, what should be the next best action that you should take on a customer for your sale, that sort of things, you know. So I think our intuition is still going to be important, but I think we have to combine with the technology, and I think that's the way we have to go, you know, particularly things like not just content generations, in terms of language enhancements on things that we do, you know, in terms of how we can do grammar better, how we can do tone of voice, that sort of thing. And then even on the collaborative writing, so as we work together, you know, I mean, sometimes with the tools like generative AI, you can ensure that, you know, you can the AI can assist us to have in terms of to have the same tone, even though many people are writing it together. That kind of things will become more critical, you know. So of course, you know, there are a few questions, and then we will come back to that, you know. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Gonzalo. Thank you. You touched upon a few areas, not only the content generations, but also the customer relationship management, and also workforce as well. So thank you for that. How about Kusai?
Sure. I think AI is going to transform the jobs for all the knowledge workers, essentially, right? Anything that deals with knowledge work, I think, will be impacted by AI. But just to focus on one sector, then let's just look at the IT sector. So the trend in the IT sector has been moving more and more towards what we call software-defined. So within Cisco, we have software-defined networks. We have a software-defined data center. Before, you have to write all the network configurations, data center configurations, line by line, item by item. Now it's moving towards software-defined network and data center. You let the software handle it, and they're becoming quite mature. Those technologies are becoming quite mature. So it's only logical to assume that in the future they will become more AI-based. And as we already know, the ChatGPT can write really good code. So there's just one example of even IT jobs will be changed significantly by AI. And not just IT, I think, like I said, all the knowledge-based work will move towards that. But to effectively use AI, I think we have to balance the good and bad, right? So someone's asking about what's the chance of AI taking over the world. I think the chance is not zero, right? It can happen. Nobody knows. But there are two schools of thought, right? So one school thinks it's going to happen, we're doomed, but the other thought says we're always going to stay one step ahead of AI and we should be able to manage it, so who knows. But the fact of the matter is the computers have become so prevalent in our lives because they can do things a lot faster and more efficiently than us. And it is plausible that it can become out of control. And that's why you hear some experts warning, we need to pause, we need to have regulations, we need to somehow keep it under control. And I think that's a good point. But the AI becoming the end of humanity, I think is still quite far out there. Isn't going to happen anytime soon. The things we're going to have to deal with in the short term is more in terms of AI, using AI in a malicious way, like creating deep fakes. It's very easy to create fake news using AI, or spreading hate speech. Those are going to have a very, very bad impact on us. And there's not a lot of things to control it at the moment. So I think it's going to be important for all the companies that are producing AI to embrace what they call responsible AI. So within Cisco itself, we set 6 guidelines for responsible AI. And the first one is transparency. So if you're using a product or a service, you should have a right to know whether you're being serviced by a human or AI, right? There should be some transparency. You shouldn't just blindly assume that you're getting serviced by a human. The second part is fairness. So AI models, you've seen reports that AI models can have a lot of bias, or a lot of discrimination bias get through into the AI systems, and somehow we have to prevent that. However we implement the AI, it should have fairness to everybody. The third piece is the privacy. So in cases that you use somebody's personal info as an input to the AI, then you should protect the person's privacy, right? That should be a right for the person. And the next piece is accountability. Because we're using AI, we can just say that, the decision was made by AI, and I'm not responsible for it. That can't happen. So you have to take responsibility for what your AI is producing, right? And the other 2 pieces are security and reliability. So people are using your AI product, they have a certain expectation about security of your product as well as the reliability of your product. So I'm not saying this is the comprehensive, the right things, but that's what we've adopted within Cisco in terms of responsible AI. And I'm sure a lot of the other tech companies may be doing the similar things as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kusan. It's very important to use AI responsibly. And then the guidelines you just mentioned, which Cisco is using, are very helpful, I think, not only for Cisco itself, but also for the audience ourselves as well. Thank you very much. Chip 8, can you please elaborate AI roles in 2 or 3 different industries?
I think our expert already mentioned a lot of points, so I will just add on my personal point of view. The first one is for myself, even I use Gmail. If I just type how, it will just like, how are you, right? It will kind of like suggest you. So yes, we are Denver, and I sometimes don't know how to spell available, right? I would just like choose however they propose me to. But I think sometimes it's a good thing. Gmail, do you use like schedule email? Schedule, like I work almost like nighttime, so I don't want to scare my customers, so I will just schedule it. It was sent next morning, 7 a.m., right? But actually, I will just send it like last night, right? So I think there are a lot of features like around us. We have to use it very effectively, but you have to raise awareness. If you're like online shopper like me, you will notice if you look at this thing, add to cart, and if you don't purchase it, next day they will just suggest you, oh, you love this thing, do you want 10%? They will ask you like 10, like a few days later. So they're using a lot of algorithm behind it, right? But why don't you use the same thing to sell our product and services? So we have to raise awareness, like how every like individual like kind of like advertising to us, we can use the same way to kind of like push out and adapt it, right? And also another thing is, okay, we have to learn and adopt it. A lot of tedious jobs that you are doing, repeated job, you have to automate it in some way. Like we already use alarm every day, right? We don't need someone to wake us up every morning. So the same thing, there's a very little simple things we have to kind of like automate it. If we're worried about our job will be replaced, we have to make sure that we are not doing tedious job. We're not doing, like somehow everyone is capable of doing it. I think that's the way we can kind of move past that kind of worries. And the last thing is, I think in today's world, knowledge alone, we cannot survive anymore. Because in old day, if you're a very knowledgeable person, you can kind of like can get job easily. But now is you can ask Google anything, right? Google is smarter than me. I cannot get job just because I know better than this. But I think the trigger point is I need to know how to use it. I need to know how to apply it, right? Real life challenges, they were not able to solve it, right? Because we're the one who facing it, and we're the one who know the nature of like challenge. So I think I also work as part-time and teacher and strategy fast. So a lot of the lecture that they give me to teach is outdated. But I'm not saying they're teaching outdated lecture, but the technology is not outdated. Before COVID and after COVID, we have so much changes in IT itself, right? So I mean, the same thing, we have to kind of like upgrade ourselves. I think that way, a lot of the questions just now, I think we just have to move past our worry and improve ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.